Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Robbie Savage. Happy birthday to you. Hello and welcome to Blue Army TV. I'm sitting here at Carlisle, just beaten Forest Green Rovers 4-2 at home. I blew those candles out because I was scared they were going to burn the place down. It's very, very flammable up here. So it now stinks a bit. But yeah, look, what a fantastic, fantastic game of football, and what an honour it was to beat a club like Forest Green and a manager like that, because I couldn't have stuck getting beat by them today. I really couldn't have dealt with getting beat by them. Yeah, it was strange. It was definitely, in my opinion, definitely the best game of football that I've seen in the last 2 or 3 years. Not just because of how we played, but because of how Forest Green played. I do think they were a really good team. I think today was the first time we've seen in a long time two teams at the top of their game playing really, really nice football. And yeah, it was a great honour to watch it. Look, we played well. I think we made some changes. Chris Clark came in for his league debut. Williams started on the wing instead of at right back, and I think he did really well. I think Williams is one of our best players in that game. But yeah, Clark was fantastic. I was a little bit disappointed when we had to take him off for Jordan Jones, but obviously you almost had to make that change with Clark maybe not being at full fitness. But yeah, that's all I can say really. I think the back line were all fantastic. I think Harper struggled a lot though. I do think Harper struggled. Not necessarily because he had a bad game, but just because they had such a quick winger and we were playing with such a high line at times, which obviously he's going to struggle with that. Like, most wingers, most fullbacks would, with the very, very rare exception of Williams, who we had on the other side. Everyone's going to struggle against that much pace, especially when you're playing so high up the pitch. I don't really blame Harper too much for that. But on the other side, Archie Davies, I think, was absolutely fantastic. Linney, obviously, man of the match, 2 goals. Him and Clark linked up really well. I did think there was a little bit of an issue in the first half, though, that they linked up well, but you could see that they were the only people they would pass to. It was almost like if the ball went to Clark, you knew he was going to pass it to Linney, and if you passed the ball to Linney, you know he was going to try and either score or get it to Clark. They were very much of the disposition that they weren't really going to pass to anybody else other than each other. Maybe trying too hard for that partnership, but ultimately they combined for the first goal. Linney got the second, and they were both fantastic. Georgie Kelly, I think if Linney hadn't got it, maybe he would have been my man of the match, not for his goal scoring, but for his keeping the ball up top. Yeah, really, really good, really, really good from him today, and obviously got his rewards with the penalty goal at the end. But yeah, to go ahead twice and get pegged back both times, and then to go on and win the game 4-2, I think that shows real character. You've been pegged back twice, but you've shown the resilience and not just dropped your heads like Carlisle would have in the past. And look, Forest Green are the best team we've beaten. I think they're maybe the second or third best team we've played. We obviously lost to Rochdale and York, who I think might be better than Forest Green, but look, Forest Green were a very, very tough game. And we beat them, by 2 goals. Look, it was just a fantastic atmosphere at Brunton Park as well. I thought, the fans were excellent. Not necessarily the away fans too much, although I do respect that from them. I'm not going to be one to sit here and slate, oh, you only brought a couple hundred up, because, with the distance travelled and the size of the club that Forest Green is, I think it's absolutely fantastic from every one of those fans that travelled up. But look, the big talking point, unfortunately, has to be Savage, because he just made himself out to be such an egomaniac. I was really disappointed before the game started at Carlisle fans trying to flag him down and take pictures with him. Like, that's your opposition manager. I think the Paddock understood it a lot better when he went back over to that side of the ground. But in the Pioneer stand, or the Andrew Jenkins stand as it is now, I was really disappointed seeing people try and get pictures with him. Obviously there's no real harm in it, but that's your opposition manager. You should be, he's the enemy when you go to Brunton Park. If you're a Carlisle fan, he's the enemy. Stop playing into his ego and asking for pictures as if he's this massive celebrity. Especially when we've got in my opinion, a much more famous, a much, better former player in Mark Hughes, who, wasn't rejected by Man United like Hughes, like Savage was. He's the big celebrity in my opinion. But obviously that's not the competition, is it? That's not what makes them good managers. But yeah, it was really nice to see him get reined back a bit and especially after his weird interviews after the game. He just seemed so rattled, and you saw him turning around and shouting at the Carlisle fans, and shouting at Hughes, and shouting at the officials. He completely lost his head from near enough minute one, and it was just it was nice to see somebody who clearly thinks so much of themselves get taken down a peg or two. And couldn't have happened on a better day, his birthday. Unfortunately, I did get his age wrong on the candles, but what a shame that was. Yeah, look, I'm gonna have to eat that cake now. What a shame. But yeah, just so happy with the game today. So happy with the way things played out. I love that we won it late on. Obviously, I'd rather we'd have kept our clean sheet. And look, we were quite unlucky to concede. You look back to the first goal, especially for Forest Green's first goal. I mean, it came off the back of a fantastic save from their keeper, from a Georgie Kelly shot that should have made it 2-0. And ultimately, if it goes to 2-0, I don't think they score the 2 goals they do. I think we go on and win it by 3 or 4-0. Because Forest Green looked at that point to have really, really down tools and almost lost their heads a bit themselves. So their first goal, I thought, was very unfortunate from our point of view. As not a minute earlier, we should have been 2-0 up, and all of a sudden it's 1-1. And that kind of setback, that kind of that kind of impact on a team can be quite bad. You deserve to be 2-0 up, and all of a sudden it's 1-1. A lot of teams would just lose their heads and kind of drop their attitudes, drop their effort a bit. Feel a bit sorry for themselves, and we didn't. We pushed on. We went ahead again just before half time. We then conceded in the second half early on, which we have a tendency to do for some reason. And then Mark Hughes made some very good substitutions, early substitutions as well, which, again, we haven't really seen much from him. And I'm glad to see it. He changed his entire midfield. First with the 2 DMs and then with the number 10. And it worked because McAdam, who came on as one of the substitutions, scored the goal from that midfield position, just outside of the box, to win us it before Georgie Kelly went on and got the 4th. In other news, this is a new camera. I haven't got it plugged into the microphone yet, which is maybe why the sound isn't perfect today, but that'll be fixed by next week, I assume. So hopefully the camera quality is a little bit better now. I was using my old phone, which I've since got replaced. I don't think there was a particularly good camera on that. I think this is a lot better of a camera. So, hopefully the pictures upped itself in quality a bit since last week. And the sound will be back to normal by next week as well. So, yeah. What else is there to talk about? It's odd when you get to a game like this where we've played so well that you almost don't have anything to complain about, and I'm very happy to be in that situation. Obviously, results elsewhere didn't go our way today. Rochdale won again, and according to Savage, it seems to be us and them in the title race. But look, we're just going to have to keep winning, hoping that Rochdale drop points, because we've lost to them. They have those 2 games in hand. They're in the driving seat at the minute, but at the same time, it's October. People seem to forget that. It's October. Forest Green, Scunthorpe, or pretty much any team in the playoffs could still win the title. That gap that is currently 1 point but could be 7 if they win the games in hand, it doesn't mean as much now. It's only October. It's the very, very start of the season almost. And there's still a lot of football to be played. So I'm just happy that we've proved, especially in these last couple of games, not including FA Cup games, the last couple of league games of Scunthorpe and Forest Green, 2 of the most difficult teams in the league that I think could both possibly still go on and win the title. To have beat both of them is a real statement, especially after the kind of downer we were on after losing to York and Rochdale. But yeah, look, let me know what you think in the comments. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel, and in a bit.